Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Marc Krasney, he's a regular contributor and has been for quite some time on The Price of Business, and he is an attorney here in town with the Krasney Law Firm, which is a very innovative firm, and always like to get his insight to help my listeners take care of themselves in that often pernicious and dangerous legal and really legalistic culture in which we live in. Marc, welcome to the program. Tell us a little bit about the Krasney Law Firm before we get to our topic today.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. We started the Krasney Law Firm in 2007 in response to what a lot of my customers said, clients said, which was, you know what, we're sick of lawsuits. We're sick of having to get you involved at the back end, getting surprise hourly bills and things like that. What can you do to make our life better? Most of them can't afford an in-house counsel because obviously they're small mom-and-pop shops, some medium-sized companies. You know, and even though they have million-dollar-plus revenues, they're still operating on a tight budget, and they can't afford an in-house counsel. And so we came up with a pretty innovative idea. Most lawyers don't do this. We charge our clients on a flat fee, and we become that in-house counsel, but we are an outside law firm. So we become part of the management team, deal with the strategy, discuss the options, and try, and I said this before in your show, keep our clients out of litigation. And the beauty about it all is we charge them the same amount every month for the service so they can budget.
Yeah, I love that. Well, what we like to do here when we get you on the program is to bring a timely topic that I think, basically add to their toolbox when it comes to dealing with the issues of owning a business or leading a business. What do you got for us today?
Well, I think, since I've been on your show for a while, I think you realize business is cyclical. And over time, the issues come back around. And so today I thought we would talk again about bankruptcy. Back in 07, 08, 09, some really lean, tough years for most businesses, that was a pretty hot topic. Collection, bankruptcy, shutting down companies, stuff like that. Well, in this day and age, with the oil prices going down, bankruptcy is a hot topic again. Bankruptcy protection is a huge issue. And I think, once again, businesses should be looking at it in the event that they need some type of protection.
Interesting. So before you get into that topic itself, what is the status right now for bankruptcy?
Well,
in terms of businesses in general, as well as here in the Houston area.
I think the short answer is it's on the rise.
Really?
When you see a industry like oil and gas, which in my opinion is probably the major industry in Houston, suffer because oil prices have gone down almost half in a very short period of time, and most oil companies were booming and spending money like crazy. Well, there are so many other industries that get affected. Just think, if you're a big oil and gas company, you're going to touch so many different vendors, so many other industries. Well, if that oil and gas company who's pumping the cash isn't paying, it's going to affect the downstream vendor and customer, and ultimately that mom-and-pop shop who's probably listening to your show right now.
Including, beyond Houston, though, how is bankruptcies doing, or beyond Texas?
Well, I can speak for the Houston area, and like I said, I think it's on the rise. Okay. And most of it is because oil companies and other vendors are seeking reorganization. Now, just to clarify here, just because a company or even an individual seeks bankruptcy doesn't always mean they're liquidating, doesn't always mean they're completely out of business. It could mean simply that they are seeking bankruptcy protection, a Chapter 11. We want to reorganize. Hey, bankruptcy trustee, I need someone to come in and protect us. That's where that phrase comes from. We want some protection from our creditors so that we can reorganize. Try to figure out what debt we can shed and keep the assets and try to continue running our business, keeping the doors open, keep paying our employees. That's what I see a lot more of as a Chapter 11, more a reorganization, which is, to me, something that is a great tool for businesses when they get in that position where it's lean, it's tough.
Yeah, very good, very good. So where do you suggest we go for protection? What should they look at?
Well, if you're a company who has significant debts out there and you are having trouble making them, not ones where you're 30 or 60 days behind, but stuff like, say you have an oil company who's a customer of yours and they're not paying you, and that's your biggest customer. And, there's a lot of people who rely on 2 or 3 clients alone. And if they're not paying you and you're not meeting your bills for months and months at a time, and or you have lawsuits, you face some significant litigation, it is an option for that company, the corporation, the LLC, whatever that entity is, to seek bankruptcy protection for two reasons, Kevin. The main one is you want to stay whatever creditor collection happenings are going on. For example, if you are in business and you're continuing to get phone calls from creditors, well, that's annoying. You can't really continue to do your business. Once you file bankruptcy, the federal statutes require you actually have a automatic stay in place. All that collection proceeding stops.
Yeah.
And that's a huge benefit to most companies. Likewise, the second benefit would be in the event you're in a lawsuit. That also stops for the time being, and there's lots of options that can happen with that lawsuit, but at least for the short term, that lawsuit stops. And so when a company says they're getting bankruptcy protection, that gives them a chance to breathe. And usually it's a few months. It's a short-term time, but it gives them a chance to focus away from all that stress and drama and get back into how do we keep the doors open and operate. That's a huge benefit that most clients, most small businesses really don't think about.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So tell me about, obviously there's more than one corporate status that can help mitigate that type of thing. Why don't you kind of give us an overview of those real quick?
The corporate status?
Yeah, the limited liability corporations, for example. Obviously, that would be a part of protecting you as well.
Yeah, there's so many different entities that can be set up. Like in the event that you listening right now are a solo practitioner or some kind of sole proprietor, there are entities that can be set up for a small filing fee with the Secretary of State to give you liability protection so that in the event, again, you have an oil company who's not paying you or a major customer who's not paying you, and you can't obviously pay your downstream people, so that those people don't come to sue you personally. I think what you're hitting on is you want to make sure, as a business, you're set up as an entity so that that entity is the one responsible and not the individual. That's like a huge discussion we have on day one whenever we counsel new businesses. That's a very important tool. There's some downsides. You got to file 2 tax returns, but the benefit is, depending on what entity it is, you may only pay taxes on one of those entities. But those are the things that we discuss, and if we're part of that management team, we can help deal with the strategies short-term and long-term, and in the event something has to change down the road.
Yeah. So from a maintenance basis, to make sure you're in the best possible stead, in case you face, problems with bankruptcy and that type of thing, talk about what things people should be doing on an annual basis just to keep themselves in the best shape, from
what I like to say
status.
to our clients is, every year you ought to have an annual meeting, both of the shareholders and at the very least the board of directors too, at least one meeting a year. At that meeting, I think it's important to really analyze the books, the records, how are we doing? Let's get a real snapshot. Let's make sure we fully understand the accounting for our business. Let's also make sure we understand the liabilities. What do we see that's happened to us in the last year? What do we foresee that's going to happen in the next coming months and or year? And really discuss that as a whole. And then once I think that snapshot is taken, any good lawyer can sit there and help figure out if the current status of the entity and the structure is sound. And I think I've also mentioned in your show, you also should have an amazing accountant who understands the rules, because the IRS rules are incredibly complicated, and it's important, I think, when we have that snapshot at the annual meeting, that an accountant can look at that and discuss, are we in the right place? Are we doing the right things? Or what do we need to do to change so that maybe we can save some money while we're limiting our liability going forward? Those are the kind of things that happen once a year, in addition to reviewing any kind of contracts so that we can fully focus on liabilities, because that is a very important thing that most mom-and-pop shops who don't get experts involved suffer, because most of the time they'll have some issue come up, and that's usually when they get their first introduction to a law firm trying to fix something that should have been done months or years prior.
Yeah, very good. Mark, final thoughts, about 30 seconds left.
Well, I think what's really important is, clients need to understand they're really good at doing their service, whatever that business is, or making that widget. And I think any good leader in that business needs to recognize that's their strength. And the other things like legal liabilities, accounting difficulties, structures, those are best left up to experts. And there's so many great experts out there who can help on a very, very good fee structure. Get them involved as early as possible so as to avoid lawsuits, litigation, and problems down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Marc Krasney is his name. The website is KrasneyLawFirm.com, correct?
That's it.
KRASNEY lawfirm.com. Easy to go to, your virtual attorney, and virtual, but also there for you. Thanks so much, Marc.
Thanks, Kevin.
When we come back, much more for you on tomorrow's program. I do want to remind you, though, that the best content here continues over there on USDailyReview.com. Have a great day and spend it right here.